Hello, and welcome to No Bruises on the Outside. I'm Roger Reynolds. I'm in Southwest Wisconsin in the United States. And I want to talk today about mindfulness and mindfulness in nature. There are many ways to use mindfulness, and one of the ways that a lot of people use mindfulness is to help them calm down. And some people may call this grounding or centering or anchoring. And a lot of people are used to talking about the breath. And I've been setting this up. I'm a little out of breath. You might notice that. I'm not really nervous. But I want to talk about observing and exploring an object with our senses as a way to have as an anchor, a way to calm, a way to center, a way to ground. And in nature, as well as in your home, there's always something around that you could grab and explore with your senses. And so the first thing I'm going to start with is this branch. It's a dead branch from an oak leaf that fell off this, or from an oak tree that fell off this summer. And what I'm going to do is first I'm going to just explore it with my eyes. And I'm going to do this faster for the sake of the video, for an educational video. I'm going to do it faster than I would normally do it as just an exercise, but I'm going to go through all the steps. So first I would explore just visually. And I'm just looking at like all the variation and looking closely at the branch, looking for color variation, looking at the different leaves, maybe noticing the size. This leaf has a hole in it. And then I can touch it and feel the branch, feel the smoothness, feel where the leaves come out. And then I can see if it makes any sound. And if I wiggle it, it makes a little bit of sound. And then I'm going to take one leaf off and talk about just exploring one leaf. So to visually look at this leaf, I look for color variation. There's some holes. I notice the shape of the leaf. You're probably going to see me moving around because there's some mosquitoes coming out. I'm looking at, like, is there color variation? It's a dead leaf, so do I see any, like, starting to break down areas, any deteriorating, any fungi growing on it? I can see the stem is different. I can see the veins. I can see the shape of the leaf, and then I can feel it. And the back side feels different than the front. I can feel the edges. I can feel the stem. It makes a little bit of sound if I play with it a little bit. It has a little bit of smell, and I'm not going to taste it. But then one of the other things you can do with a dead leaf or a leaf that you found off a tree is another piece that's really calming and can be very meditative, is to just start ripping this leaf into little pieces. And you can do it as small as you can, and just pay attention to the pressure in your fingers, pay attention to where the veins pull or how the leaf rips. And you can do it as small as you want and as long as you want. And I have this branch with almost 10 leaves on it, so I could do it for quite some time if I wanted to. And you'll notice as you get down to the stem that it pulls a little differently. The veins are stronger, and then the stem itself is stronger. That's using a branch and a leaf. Here's a different branch, and hopefully you can see this. This is from a plant, not a branch, but from Anise hyssop, which is an herbaceous or soft tissue plant. It has a lot of different branches, so visually there's a lot to explore. Eventually I can start to feel it, and this probably doesn't have much smell. It doesn't make much sound, but then I can start to just break off, first like starting to break off the little pieces that I can break off with just my thumb and forefinger. And I can go around and break all of those off as kind of a meditation. And as I break those off, I can see if those have any smell. And as I work my way to the bigger pieces, it might take 2 fingers. Then if it was a woody plant, I would probably get to the point that it would take both my hand, this one still does, both my hands. And when I get done breaking that, I can then still pay attention. Do I feel the pressure in my hands that I used to break that stem or that branch? And like I feel some dust on my fingers. Now another one, this is a live little evergreen branch. Again, you can visually explore it. You can touch it. It's smooth. But one of the other things is this one will have some smell. I take off some pine needles and I bend them and rub them, and they have really good smell. And also, here's a dead evergreen branch. There's a car coming, so I'm going to try to wrap this up. That's part of human nature, part of the the soundscape and the nature that we create. Humans are part of nature. The things we create are part of nature. So I might get done before this car gets here, but I can see it in a distance using my sense of vision, of view. So here's a dead evergreen branch. Again, I can explore. Actually, some of these needles come off pretty easily. I can see how they smell. They have a little bit of smell, but not nearly as much as the live one. And I can slowly like pull them off and have that feeling of touch and how much pressure, what does that feel like? And then eventually I can break this branch, breaking the little parts, breaking the bigger parts. And, it's just a way. I'm doing each of these faster than I would if I were just doing it for myself. But all of these things, and in your home, you can always find some object to explore. And if you do that, first visually explore it to more in depth than you've ever visually explored it. And then you can explore it with touch. You can see if there's any sound. You can see if there's any smell. And then if there are things that you would taste, you could see if there's any taste. Now, some things, and I actually just happen to bring something that I can taste. So we can bring little treats or little snacks with us when we go out in nature. And of course, if we're at home, we do have snacks or treats around. So I brought something that most of us like. And of course, it comes from plants. And it comes from the the plant that we get chocolate from, which I think is cacao. And there's some sugar cane, something from sugar cane. So it's natural. It's a chocolate chip. And I can't hold it in my hand very long to look at it, but I have it on this little bottle cap that I can look at it. And I can feel it a little bit so it doesn't, but it'll start to melt. I can smell chocolate. It's not going to make much sound. But then the way to do mindful eating is to put something in your mouth and just let it sit there. Just let it sit on your tongue. You can explore feeling the shape that you already saw, but you also, when you put it in your mouth, you can explore what your body does with eating, and you will feel your body start to create saliva, and you'll feel the flavor of chocolate start to spread throughout your mouth. And so, and to then just like, it can take 1 to 2 minutes just with one chocolate chip to explore that flavor going throughout your mouth and just letting it slowly melt. And one of the interesting things is to see, can you just totally sit with it melting in your mouth, just one chocolate chip, which will take 2 to 3 minutes. And you can swallow it and you'll feel more saliva. And or maybe you'll bite it once or twice after a couple of minutes. And then you can pay attention to as that flavor leaves your mouth. You've swallowed the chocolate, you've swallowed the saliva, but you still will have that flavor in your mouth, and you can just sit there and kind of savor it even longer. And I'm going to put this in my mouth. I'm not going to let you watch me. I'm not going to have you endure watching me for 2 to 3 minutes of watching it. But these are just a few really simple ways of exploring an object with your senses to help calm you, to center you, to ground you. It's starting to melt in my fingers. I can feel it. I'm going to put it in my mouth. And thank you for watching. And I hope you find some interesting things to explore. There's a little chocolate on my fingers I can feel. It's stuck to the roof of my mouth. I'm starting to feel taste the chocolate go around my mouth. I'm starting to feel saliva to come out. But thank you for watching, and enjoy exploring things. And you can explore a variety of things. And if we practice this, the chocolate's on the roof of my mouth. If we practice this, then in a time when we're maybe upset, it can become easy to be like, oh, right, I can just grab any object and start to explore it. And you kind of practice this like any skill. And then it will become easier to do, and you'll think of it more. So remember just this really simple: explore an object with your senses of sight, of touch, of smell, of hearing, and taste, if it's something you would taste. And you can do a few breaths before you start, or while you start, or after you start. You can also be aware of your breath. But just exploring an object can really be, with your senses, can be a really effective way to kind of calm yourself down. Take care.